You're watching Bayern and thinking this team cannot possibly need another attacker. They already have too much of the ball, too much territory, too many dangerous players, but the longer you watch, the clearer the real problem becomes. Bayern's issue is not getting into dangerous zones. It is knowing who can make those attacks feel clear once they get there, and that is where Michael Olise starts to look less like just another winger, and more like a solution to Bayern's biggest attacking problem. That distinction matters because it changes the whole argument. This is not really a story about Bayern adding one more talented attacker to a squad already full of them. And it is not just a story about numbers, even though Olise has enough of those as well. It is a story about what happens in the final third when an elite team has already done the hard part, pinned the opponent back, pushed the game into dangerous territory, and forced the defensive block to collapse, but still needs someone to make the last attacking picture feel legible. That was the part Bayern did not always control cleanly enough. For all their attacking talent, they could still drift into two familiar shapes in the final third: control without incision, or danger without enough structure. That is the gap Olise is starting to close. Bayern's real problem was not access, it was interpretation. This is the cleanest diagnosis. Bayern did not usually struggle to reach threatening areas. They still had the structure, the quality and the force to get there. They could pin teams in, they could flood the attacking line, they could recycle pressure until the game tilted into the opponent's half for long stretches. But that is only the first half of elite attacking football. The second half is what you do when space gets smaller, time gets tighter, and every touch in the final third becomes more expensive. That is where Bayern did not always look as clean as their talent level suggested they should. Too many attacks still depended on one of two things: one more circulation phase, or one player improvising the final action out of a crowded picture. That is why calling this simply a firepower issue misses the point. Bayern did not need more attack in the abstract, they needed a better interpreter of the attack. Olise is not just a winger, he is a right-sided attacking organizer. That is where the profile gets more interesting. The surface label, winger, immediately narrows the imagination. It makes people think of a relatively standard role: hold the width, isolate a fullback, dribble outside or cut in cross, shoot, repeat. Olise can do parts of that, of course, but the data profile points toward a broader and more useful reality. His game is not built on one route to the threat. It shows strong output across multiple layers: final product, shot generation, chance creation through passes, chance creation through carries, ball progression, total attacking value. That matters because it tells you he is not dependent on a single mechanism. He does not need the attack to arrive in one specific shape before he becomes useful. He can move the ball up the pitch, help distort the defensive shape, create for others, and still threaten the goal himself. That makes him much more than a wide attacker with good numbers. It makes him a player who can sit on the right side of Bayern's structure and help the rest of the attack make sense. The maps show where his real game lives. His passes and carries do not look like the touch map of a simple chalk-on-boots winger. The real activity clusters are in the zones that matter most. Advanced right channel, right half space, outside edge of the box, final third progression lanes. That tells you what Bayern are really getting. Olise is not there just to stand wide and wait for the structure to serve him in isolation. He is there to gain territory and then shape what comes next. That is why the more accurate role definition is something like this: a right-sided territory-gaining creator. He does not just help Bayern reach the final third, he helps them reach it in a way that already contains the next action: a disguised pass inside, a carry that bends the block, a quick release before the defense resets, a left-footed final action if the lane opens. A lot of wide players help you arrive in danger. Fewer help you arrive there with order. That is why he fits. This is exactly the kind of player Bayern needed. Bayern's biggest attacking problem was not that they were blunt, it was that they could still look powerful without always looking clean. That matters because clean attacks are what separate domination from repetition. A clean final third attack is one where the move reaches a dangerous area, and the next decision arrives quickly, correctly, and before the defense can reorganize. It does not mean every move is simple, it means the attack does not need rescuing once it gets near the box. Bayern could still create force. What they did not always create was clarity. That is where Olise changes the texture of the attack. He's the kind of player who can pause without killing the move, draw pressure without losing the lane, keep multiple solutions alive, and pick the right one early enough for the chance to feel designed rather than improvised. That is a huge thing in a superclub context, because dominant teams rarely fail from lack of access. They fail when the final third picture gets crowded and nobody interprets it quickly enough. Olise helps Bayern solve exactly that. He adds design, not just flair. A lot of discussions around Olise stop too early. They stop at the parts of his game that are easiest to admire. Smooth left foot, elegance in 1v1 moments, stylish dribbling, obvious creativity, technical polish. All of that is real. None of it is the deepest reason he matters. The deeper reason is that he gives Bayern attacking design in zones where elite teams often become rushed. He does not just make attacking moments possible, he gives those moments shape. That is the difference between an attack that looks talented and an attack that looks understood. Olise can receive wide and still threaten inside. He can receive inside and still keep the outside option alive. He can draw one defender, fix another, and open a lane for the third man. He can make the move feel chosen. That is not random creativity. That is structure inside creativity. And that is exactly what Bayern needed more of. He also makes Bayern less dependent on one-player improvisation. Every great attack has improvisers. Bayern still have them. They still have players who can break the game by feel, by dribble, by instinct, by a burst of brilliance that no structure can fully script. But if too much of the final third depends on that, the attack becomes harder to repeat against the very best teams. What you want instead is a better balance. Structure to get you there. Talent to distort the block. And one or two players who can interpret the final third picture before it turns messy. Olise is one of those players. He reduces the need for every dangerous Bayern move to be solved by instinct alone. He gives the attack another decision maker. Another player who can receive in a loaded zone and still make the right thing happen early enough. That does not replace Musiala's value. It does not replace Kane's finishing brain. It does not replace the need for runners. It connects them. And that is a bigger upgrade than simply adding another good attacker to the squad. The Bayern problem and the Olise solution, stated plainly. They could dominate territory without always turning that dominance into clean final third outcomes. Olise's solution. He gives them a right-sided player who can progress, create, organize, and finish phases without forcing the attack into one obvious pattern. That is why this fit feels so strong. Bayern did not only need more talent, they needed someone who could reduce the uncertainty between control and incision. Olise looks built for that. Michael Olise should not be framed simply as a productive winger joining a dominant team. He should be framed as a right-sided attacking organizer, a territory-gaining creator, a multi-channel chance builder, and a player who helps Bayern close the gap between possession and precision. That is the real point. Bayern did not only need another attacker, they needed someone who could make their attack make sense at the exact moment elite attacks usually start to blur. Olise is starting to do exactly that.